Come, walk down the winding path. Don't mind the spooks and monsters. They stay hidden within the trees. There are mysteries in this world that you need to know, and paranormal truths that need to be told. Come, step up into the caravan while we share tales of old, as well as new accounts about things you thought only existed in your nightmares.
Welcome back to the Caravan.
Thank you. It has been such a long time that, wow, I need to shower and get all the dust and dirt off me from being away for so long. And I miss being in the caravan. It's so warm and cozy in here, and I thank you.
Yes, of course. Well, we miss you over here, too. Tell everybody where have you been? What adventures have you been going on?
What adventures I have been on? Well, I've been dinosaur hunting. No, I have not. I have been...
that's disappointing.
I have been solicited to do the news, or a news segment, rather, at the existence of strange things on Radio Memphis, which is a radio station out of Memphis, Tennessee. And I have to thank the executive producers over there for thinking that I had talent enough to do the news. And, of course, I'm supported by good friends like Sean the Fork Chop Forker, Lon Strickler, and Butch Witowski. They are the co-hosts of The Existence of Strange Things. And, it actually has been a lot of fun, and probably a benefit or a side effect to the whole thing is that when you do the news, you're always searching for interesting news bits. And I'm learning so much more that I'm like, wow, this would be fantastic to bring to the caravan. So, since I've done the test news, and of course test, for none of you that may know yet, is actually the acronym for The Existence of Strange Things, just makes it a little bit faster for us to say test. Since I've been doing this, I've been like, I want to do the caravan again too, because the chemistry between the two of us is a lot of fun too, and some of the stories that we share when we're not doing this podcast is it's pretty phenomenal. We've had some interesting experiences, and we do share them, and so now it's our opportunity to put it to the podcast and share along with you guys, the audience.
Yeah, no, for sure. Since you're the news guy, what kind of interesting news was there this last week? Anything good?
Yeah, actually, there was one interesting article that I think will probably fit really good into current mind control as to what's going on right now. And I will give a little bit of a tease. However, there is, and I won't give the names away until we actually do the show on the mind control, but there is a new patent by this individual that has manipulated computer screens and TV screens to send electromagnetic pulses out without you knowing it that actually affects the human nervous system. And
I'm done for then.
And exactly, I'm like, whose hands is this patent going to fall into in the incorrect way? Because now you're going to be able to manipulate people's emotions by sending different magnetic hertz. It's actually in hertz, and it goes anywhere between a half a hertz and 2.4 hertz. And it is in a pulse, so it can be embedded into a computer program that you might be using. It can be embedded into anything, even a television show that might be on. And if it is embedded in there, it does affect the nervous system. And
so what about Facebook?
Well, if you're doing Facebook on a computer screen, yeah, it's anything that's subject to any type of, and you don't even have to look at the screen. You just have to be in the room, and it can affect you. So that's kind of the scary part of the whole thing. So
Wow.
either we turn everything off and we live in a bunker, or as I said on the existence of strange things news, I'm selling tinfoil. So if anybody is interested, you can buy tinfoil from me to make a tinfoil hat. So you can visit me at
I can custom make them.
Facebook. You could, and you can spray paint them too,
Yeah.
so they don't look so weird. But yes, I know it's we can make light of it, but that technology,
Right.
leave it to an individual to come up with this. Hopefully, it doesn't fall in the wrong hands. So yeah, that's one interesting news bit that I came across. And sometimes ignorance is bliss, but I like to be informed.
My whole thing about knowing or being ignorant is the fact that if you can't get away from it, if there's nothing that you can do, if it's in the air you breathe and there's just nothing you can do to get away from the air you breathe, I'd rather almost not know.
Yeah, I can agree with you. And that, again, is part of that statement of ignorance is bliss. Because I think the mind will probably do more damage to your physical body if you knew what you were ingesting all the time and you're aware of it, as to the adverse effect of, well, I have no clue, and therefore the mind just keeps plugging along like it's a bright, sunshiny day and now things are good and butterflies are free. No,
Exactly.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I do get what you're saying. I posed a question on the Existers Facebook group page. Name one thing that the federal government and state and local government mandate that you must consume every day. And I was quite surprised that, the feedback, most people were absolutely correct that, there are things, and a few people named a couple other things that I didn't intend, but, what I was looking for was fluoride. We cannot seem to get away from fluoride, and there is such an argument on both sides of the aisles about fluoride. Why is the government forcing something upon us to say, well, it's for good health of your teeth? Okay, it's your teeth. People still get cavities. Dentists would be out of business if fluoride did what it was supposed to do. And yet, every corner I turn, there's a dentist office. So clearly, there are two sides to that argument, but yet the government, at least in the United States, mandates that every bit of drinking water that you consume, whether it comes out of your tap water or bottled water, unless you have a reverse osmosis system in your home, and that's not even guaranteed to get rid of all the fluoride, but it will reduce it. But unless you have a system like that, we can't survive without the water, and we're ingesting something that the government's mandating that they put in the water. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist to say, it's going to be dangerous and it will kill you. But what is the purpose behind that other than dental health? Because clearly we still have, tooth decay problems throughout this country, whether you're drinking the water or not. So, I don't know. I find that really interesting. So, it does go back to ignorance is bliss. So what about you? Have you come across any interesting news stories or any interesting adventures that you have been on lately?
So, no news stories, but I did finally take my adventure to that haunted hotel that I've been talking about for several years with you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about it.
Right? I mean, so when I was a kid, and I'll have to go through, I have there's a pamphlet. It's like an events packet that they hand out, and there's this introduction and history of the location within it. Actually, I can just look right now. Because the motel or hotel started out as a Masonic home. And okay, here we go. So 1999, the Masons build new facilities on the north half of the property and sell the old home to McMenamins. And then in March of 2000, McMiniman's Grand Lodge opened. And I remember being a kid driving past it, and the grounds were always beautiful. There's this big pond out front, and these willow trees, and the green grass, and all these bushes, and there's no other buildings in town that look like it. And it was really big, and it has these beautiful white pillars on the front stairs. And I always wanted to go in it, and I never knew, well, what is that? What is that, And I found out that it was a home for, like, elderly Masons. But then after a while, there were problems with the local kids because there was beautiful big koi in that pond, and it was kind of close to the walkway on the road, and so people vandalized it and constantly killed the fish or got into the water, and so they drained it. And it's actually, I don't think that they ever refilled it. But anyways, so they sold the property, and it is now part of the McMiniman's franchise, and it has several bars, rooms that you can stay in. And I was amazed because, so I went there when I was, 17? It was for prom. And I stayed the night there, but I knew the history of it, and I basically stayed up all night by myself talking to the staff and walking around and taking pictures and doing
right.
that. I loved it. Oh my gosh. I got to stay 2 nights there in 2 different rooms. And so that was a lot of fun. And I hadn't actually been back there in 2 years. And little did I know, because I haven't been paying attention, they completely remodeled the attic and added like 20 rooms up there. And I had no idea. Yeah, I had no idea that there was that much space. The attic is completely different from the rest of the motel. And the funny thing is, and I'll have to include pictures so that you can actually like see what I mean. So you walk in on what used to be the main floor, and you've got the main restaurant. And right before the restaurant is like this little bar, and there's the check-in. And then you can go downstairs to, there's more rooms that you can stay in. There's a place for a band to play. And then there's this little bar. And it's crazy because the doors are skinny. And you walk down there, and it looks like it's just this plain old basement with some, rooms to sleep in. And you open one of these small, skinny doors, and it opens up to this big bar. And it's actually called the doctor's office. And they've got pool tables in there and, everything. And, and now they have they call it Ruby Spa. So there's a whole spa down there now too. And then that's the access to like the soaking pool. I think didn't I show you pictures of those? Amazing.
I did. Yes, I did. And some of the artwork there is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. No, I love it. And all the pipes have like their hands or their faces.
Yeah, that's what I meant by the artwork, is that, the construction and the infrastructure of the entire building is actually, after the fact, it was created into a piece of art. And that in itself is just, I've never seen anything like that before, so I was kind of taken back by that. It's really very cool to look at.
You walk up this really big, gorgeous ramp, and it takes you right to where the theater is. And I have had the chance to go see a movie there, and it's cool because you can do like dinner and a movie. So order a burger.
I'm looking at it, and I see there's beautiful wood tables in front of the seating where you can eat your meal, and such a cool ambient looking theater. It's old and vintage, but
Dude,
yes,
yeah,
it's
yes,
awesome.
exactly. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
And so when you're on that floor, if you go all the way to the end, there's 2 doors, and the door is closed. And for the longest time, like, you don't just go opening up random doors. And so it was always like this was like a storage closet. Like, it really comes off like it's a storage closet and nothing more. Well, now you open this door up, and there's 2 sets of stairs. One that goes up that leads to a landing, and then a second staircase that goes up to a whole nother floor with like 20 rooms. And the way that they painted it is like, you know, universe, stellar, just the otherworldly. Like, the rest of the hotel's got that, you know, vintage feeling.
Right.
But then upstairs, the attic is just this totally other world. And all of the, remember I showed that picture that has like tons of different lanterns? Actually, as soon as I walked in there, I was taking pictures and I was like sending it to you like that second, because it was just, I just couldn't believe it. This place that I love so much. I love their food. I love the atmosphere, everything. And I didn't know I could love it even more than I already do. But so I wanted to read what they have as their
Okay, but I got a question real fast.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to mean to interrupt, but I'm okay. So these 2 stairways, is that for public use? Or do they keep the doors closed and it's off? Okay, so it is for public use. Okay, it's like, you know, I'm immediately thinking of the Matrix scenario of, do you take the left stairs or the right stairs? You know, and what world will you go to if you choose which one?
Oh, man. It feels like the secret entrance, and like you're hidden away up there. And one thing that I like so much is the fact that up there in the attic, it was so silent. So silent. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this would be where I'd want to stay. And so when we were staying there, it was so funny because there was a group of gentlemen that went into one of the rounder rooms. And the rounder rooms, and they're basically just these big sitting areas that has a fireplace and a little bar and kind of like a mini cafe or restaurant, I guess it could be. And I would always go in there to like read books. And in fact, that's actually where I went to go check out the ghost log when I was there. And anyways, these gentlemen who obviously had some drinks, they went to try to light a fire in the fireplace, and they didn't do it right. So they set off the fire alarm.
No, good.
It was very eventful. The second time, which was my favorite time staying there, was actually this big, it was like a jazz type of outdoor concert where they had multiple different bands come. And it was like a 2 or 3 day event, and you got to camp on the lawn. One of the things that I love so much about that place is, so when you get there, on your bed, you have like, they lay out these plush white house coats or bath robes, you know?
Right.
And so you get those, and then you actually get the newspaper delivered to your hotel room door. So you open up your door and there's the morning paper, which I thought was
cool is
fantastic.
that, right?
Oh yeah, and then like in the morning, everybody's just walking around in their robes, you know, and there's shared bathrooms. The rooms actually, I don't think any of the rooms have a private bathroom.
Wow.
That I remember.
It's communal amongst a couple of rooms? Interesting.
Well, they have there's a down in the basement there's a women's and men's restrooms, but there's several showers and different stalls and stuff, and that actually is where a lot of activity takes place.
Wow.
Is in the bathroom. And even when I went there, I asked the lady, I was like, well, I'm here and doing kind of like a podcast thing, and I was wanting to, maybe peek in some rooms or see what your highest activity area or room might be. And she's like, we don't actually have any rooms that have the most activity. It's just kind of here and there, but the most concentrated is in the bathrooms, mostly the women's bathroom as well. And she had even had experiences with water will turn on by itself or the stall doors will move. I could have sworn I heard footsteps when I was in the shower. Nobody came in, nobody was there. I looked, I checked. It could have just been me, but I did think that I heard footsteps at one time.
Wow.
Aside from that, I wanted to read kind of the introduction and history of the place, just so there's kind of more understanding of why is it haunted and how old is it and all that.
And what were the Freemasons up to that whole time? Exactly.
Right. Okay, so this is their introduction and history out of their events packet. It says, McMiniman's Grand Lodge is set in Forest Grove on 13 acres of beautiful gardens and sweeping lawns that surround this majestic architecture, originally built as a Masonic lodge. The grandeur that you see today was founded in 1922 as one of the Masonic lodges of Oregon. It is an impressive structure with iconic columns, marble accents, and French doors opening into gathering spaces filled with natural light, along with hardwood floors and cozy fireplaces. A variety of interesting characters once called the place home. Alice Meek Inkley, granddaughter of some of the first Oregon pioneers. World War II photographer Paul Schrock, and jeweler wind chime craftsman Edwin Fish, just to name a few. When the Masonic and Eastern Star Home relocated to a new facility in 1999, McMinimans leapt at the opportunity to infuse its lyrical sense into the Masons' historic tradition. The buildings were given creative and respectful renovation that enhanced their classic, original features and added fun new twists. Okay, so in 1897, the Masonic Grand Chapter of Oregon adopts a recommendation that steps be taken to establish a home for widows and orphans of Masons. In 1917, after 20 years of planning and fundraising, the Grand Lodge and Grand Chapter adopts resolutions declaring for the establishment of a Masonic and Eastern Star home in the state of Oregon for the aged and infirm and the poor and distressed, worthy Master Masons, their widows and orphans. At the time, there were approximately 30 such Masonic homes operating in 29 states. A 30-acre site east of Forest Grove is acquired for Oregon's Masonic home. In 1922, the main lodge's central and eastern wings were completed. In 1926, an orphanage called the Children's Cottage is completed on site with a capacity to hold 32 children. In 1927, though, so only a year later, it is decided that the orphanage be closed due to strained relations between the elderly and the children. Over the subsequent few years, the children were relocated to outside families. In 1934, focus of the home shifts to caring for the sick and infirm. The average attendance over the past year is 92 residents, the largest number to date. The mid-1980s, Alice Meek Inkley, granddaughter of local pioneer Joe Meek, comes to live in the Masonic home. And then by 1999, they had built a new area. And then in 2000, they opened the Grand Lodge. But
So it's
So one of
relatively new that this whole venture has taken place to what it is today then, as the Grand Lodge Hotel type of thing. Oh, I thought this had
Mhm.
been in the works for a long time, but it's relatively in recent history, huh?
Yeah, what was
Wow.
that, like 17 years then?
Yeah.
And not
Well,
even that long because of the time it took to,
right.
remake it. So,
You know,
yeah, no.
looking at the pictures of McMenamins, and I see where the detached orphanage for 30 children. I mean, wow. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
detached. It's not part of the main building, correct?
that's right.
Yeah.
It's on
Hmm.
the same driveway, but it's separate from the main building. And the interesting thing is, at least from, mouth to ear, nothing that's written down.
Mhm.
It seems as if the children's cottage actually has the highest amount of activity, paranormal speaking.
Mhm.
But I need to do more research on that because I don't remember. I mean, I don't have, the history of,
Right, but as
disease
I'm
or,
looking at the old vintage photographs of it, that's kind of the
right.
sense that I got from it immediately is if there was a place to have the most activity, yeah, I would have, and we call it a cottage, but it's really not. It looks like
Mhm.
a two-story brownstone. It's big, and for 30 kids
Mhm.
to be housed there, but yeah, how strange is it though that that only lasted a year with the children being there, and then to say, well, it was because of a conflict between the elderly and the children. And I suppose that could very well be, uh, but
Mhm.
really only a year of giving a trial and immediately they displace the children. I wonder if there was anything more behind it after the children were moved and maybe why. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to
Right.
take a look into that. For the listeners, when I look at the pictures, and of course when you guys look at the pictures too, but I get the sense and the feeling and the emotion from the Grand
Mhm.
Lodge of McMenamins the same way I did with the hotel, the Overlook Hotel in the movie The Shining.
Mm.
The
Mhm.
Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining
Yes.
with Jack Nicholson, and you get
Mhm.
that same type of architecture and that same type of
Mhm.
feeling with the narrow hallways and the lighting, and it's just such a cool place to even tour through just in pictures. I would love to go to a place like that on my own because
Oh yeah.
yeah, just for the haunt fact alone would be within itself mystique. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of the feeling that I get. So for the listeners that haven't been able to look at the pictures yet, if you've ever seen the movie, the original, The Shining, yeah, that's kind of the tone that whole lodge is actually kind of presented with. And I would imagine probably the Overlook Hotel, the real one, and the Grand
Mhm.
Lodge were probably constructed in the same era, don't you think? I'm
Um.
pretty sure so that the architecture was kind of similar. The Overlook
Yeah.
Hotel, which I don't know that it's actually called the Overlook Hotel. I know it was in the movie, but that actual
Mhm.
building, I think, it's probably twice as big as McMenamins, but still has that same kind of atmosphere about it when you approach it.
Yeah. So it's called the Stanley Hotel, and it actually
But
opened July 4th, 1909.
okay, well,
So
still kind of
similar,
within that
yeah.
same ballpark, right? For the
Yeah, I would
architecture
say so.
and the way the plumbing is
Mhm.
laid out and the way the hallways are narrow and the way the lighting is done. Yeah,
Well,
how about that? That is so.
it's funny. I'll have to look through here at some of these pictures. I wanted to read a couple of the ghost log entries, and
Mhm.
as we're talking about the feel of the hotel, from when it was built, from how they did the artwork, and it's so interesting to me because the Masons, like we've talked so many times about secret societies, even, you've got a lot of people that'll say, oh, they're just Masons and, whatever. But there's such a secrecy behind them. There's such this mysterious, I'll always think there's something way deeper to it. And, so then you have this hotel that it was like they took that and they really made it shine, because if you look at some of the pictures, and I'll make sure to upload them, like there's witches. I know that there's several photos of witches, and there's just all these, weird, mysterious stuff. Well, even the people that place draws in. So I'll read this one entry. This was from May 1st, 2015 in room 115. Okay. Late Friday night, I woke up from the feeling of someone trying to roll me out of bed. I sleep on my side and was facing the floor, so I put both hands and feet out to the side so I wouldn't fall. Very scary. Somehow, I fell back to sleep. Love, the Sisters of the White Robes.
Wow.
Right.
What is... who are the Sisters of the White Robes? Yikes.
I know. And there was another one here that had a signature similar to that, where it was just spooky, There is one here before I find that one, because I'm kind of looking through them. Ronler Acres Paranormal Society went there and added their investigation to the ghost log. And it says here, this was done October 4th, 2008, caught one EVP in the compass room saying book, book. Caught one more EVP in the rounder room saying my name is. And then December 1st, 2008, they caught 4 new EVPs in the rounder room. The first one saying breathe, hi. Second one, it says, do you want to pass a message? The answer, sorry. The third one, who is the president? Carter was the answer.
What? Wow.
Fourth, we can't see you. And the answer was, I can see you. I can feel you too.
Oh, there's chilling.
Right? Exactly.
Wow. And you want to go back there and stay, huh? Okay. You do that.
Well,
wow.
For me, I just never had an experience that really, I could feel stuff, and in one of those, it was the Billy Scott room, is where I always felt stuff. But it was more like a presence, more like, I didn't feel threatened. I did feel kind of scared, though. It's just scary to think that you're in a room alone, but you don't feel alone.
Right.
Here's one from the Children's Cottage. This was in 2010, November. It was the day before Thanksgiving. We decided to go look for any ghost activity. We ventured over to the Children's Cottage. We looked around for a while and noticed movement in the window. We walked around the back side and didn't find anything. We walked around to the side where we saw the movement. I noticed that the blinds were down, but they weren't down before. Then we also noticed that the curtains opened up, but they weren't open before either. So who knows? I mean, somebody could have been in there, not discounting or anything like that, but there could have been a worker getting it ready for something, but hey, Here's another one from 2015, room 11. I woke up at 1 a.m. and saw a little girl standing at the foot of the bed. She had long, blondish-brown hair and was wearing a blue and white dress. She was very bright, as though she was emanating light, and appeared to be solid. I really thought she was a real person standing there looking at me. She had a smile on her face, and as I started to say something to her, she moved towards the nightstand and became more transparent, disappearing entirely.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. So where is this ghost log located? Is it right in the front foyer as you enter the through the the white pillars up through the front main entrance, or is it somewhere else?
Yes. So when you go in and you check in, you just ask them, hey, for the ghost log. And it's interesting because when I first went there, gosh, what year was that? It was 2003, I think, 2003 or 2004 when I stayed there. And the ghost log was just like a journal. And it's gotten so big now that they've had to they've photocopied all the pages, and they put it into a 3-ring binder, and they have it listed by year now.
Wow.
It's pretty
a lot
cool.
of activity then.
I have it. Yeah, I've got a photo of the ghost log too that I'll put on there. This one here, I found the other one that was signed in a way that I thought was fun. This was from September 2016, so not too long ago. It says here, elevator was used to go to the basement. Down arrow was pushed. Elevator went upstairs into attic. It stayed on the attic floor for several minutes before closing and then going to the basement. The creepy part is you need a key to turn the elevator capability to go to the attic. I told management as soon as we could. First McMiniman's ghost experience. Signed, McMiniman's Tripster.
Really? The tricksters?
Tripster.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of elevators that you have to have a key in order to gain access to certain floors. I have heard of that. So if it's taking you to a place that you didn't ask it to go, why did you do that to me? So
exactly. That would be a trip.
With what was the children's orphanage, or cottage as they call it, what is that now? Are those rooms also for renting capabilities, or have they done something else with it?
Those are, I believe it's more so meeting rooms and like weddings.
Oh, okay.
I had a friend, she got married there.
It seems like a popular place for that, for wedding ceremonies, huh?
Yes, and gosh, during Halloween, this is the coolest part. So during Halloween, you can trick-or-treat the whole place. So you go into the actual lodge, and in all of the rounder rooms, down in the spa, and in the theater, they have them set up to be different themes. Like one was this Alice in Wonderland theme, and so each thing that you walk into, it's kind of like this one-room haunted house looking thing, and you can trick or treat, and it's so cool because there's several rooms. They do hand out a lot of candy, and over here we have a lot of rain during that time. Then you can walk down the driveway over to the children's cottage, and it's set up like a haunted house, but it's age appropriate. So you can do everything right there and have a great night. Right?
What a great idea that is for Halloween. I mean, really? That is... Thank you, management, for coming up with that idea.
Right?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
That would be a lot of fun. I think that would probably be a lot of fun to have a Halloween experience there, and see the little ghouls and goblins trick-or-treating, and then to actually be able to spend the night there then afterwards. I bet that would probably be an adventure and a lot of fun. That would be
that's actually a really good idea, because I hadn't thought about staying the night afterwards, but that'd be fantastic. And if you can, I'm trying to find one of the pictures online, but it's so funny because there is the old chute, like the metal slides that go out the side where you'd throw like trash or laundry or whatever.
Right.
Which it just makes it seem so much more, old and
Right.
creepy.
I am
So,
currently looking at the aerial view. It's a black and white photo, so I'm assuming it looks,
mhm.
according to a couple of the cars that are in that circle driveway, looks like
Mhm.
the photograph may have been taken in the 1950s.
Okay.
And you can see on the side, like, of the children's cottage, you can see a chute looking on the side of
Yeah.
the building there as to what you're talking about. Yeah,
Mhm.
unless back when it was built, that was the coal chutes to get coal up to or out of.
Oh.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not sure.
That's where you
Yeah,
throw the
it's
dead bodies when you're done with them. You let them go down
oh man.
the
Oh
slide.
geez. Oh man. Yeah, oh this
No.
is cool too. Like we had just really quick, there's they featured their new rooms on the news. There was a piece done by our local news station.
Mhm.
And it's funny because the headline here says new rooms and secret passage at Grand Lodge.
Ooh, what's the secret passage?
The
Would that be
secret
the stairs you were
passage,
talking about?
well, it's kind of just a hallway. Like it's I don't know, you just kind of you go up the stairs and then there's a bunch of rooms and then there's like this little hallway that takes you to other rooms and then it takes you down to the other set of stairs. I'm just really interested though, like what was up there before it was ever turned into rooms, because there's pictures
Right.
here on Google that show that it's completely bare and the elevator went all the way up there.
Hmm.
So I wonder, what did they
Good
keep up
question.
there?
Yeah, good question. Boy, if those walls could talk, huh?
Oh, right? Oh,
The
man.
stories they could tell. Yeah, I would imagine.
Mhm.
Again, there's such a history with the Masons, and of course, the existence
Mhm.
of Strange Things, did an episode regarding the Masons, and it really seems like it changes all of U.S. history as we've been taught in schools, and that they had a big
Yeah.
hand in how history actually evolved in this country, more so than,
Mhm.
because he brought up a very good point, that the Vikings came here and then for 500 years nothing happened, and then all of a sudden Chris Columbus shows up and now all things start again. No, it wasn't that way.
Right?
Because there's been so much artifacts that have been found that the Masons were here, and
Mhm.
it was very secretive, but yet so much of it was done on astrological aspects of belief, and in that belief system
Mhm.
of the female gender of the god, and you'd have to listen to the whole episode to understand everything that goes into the Masonic design of their lodges and their belief system is so intricate and secretive and hidden, and yet it's in plain sight. You may see something
Mhm.
right in front of your face, but yet it has such a significant and profound symbology to it that you don't even realize you're looking at it, but yet here they're telling you the secret right up front. It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. One thing too, as you're saying that, it makes me I'm curious about McMiniman itself, like the people who own all of them. I just sent you several pictures, and I don't know, I might be able to upload some of them or one of them to the website. I'm not sure because they're copyrighted. But
Right.
well, real quick, all I was going to say is I'm really interested in McMinimans themselves, just because, as you can see with the pictures, all of them have this just spook to them. Every location. And not only, and they have a history, too, of purchasing haunted properties.
Oh, really?
That's part of this. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's part of it.
Okay, so let me just, as long as we're on that same vein, the main sign that says McMiniman's Grand Lodge Hotel and Dining has a really interesting symbol between the word hotel and dining. Now, that may be a Masonic symbol, but I've never seen it before regarding the Masons or the Freemasons.
Oh.
It's a very interesting looking symbol. And then below that it says Ruby Spa and then Doctor's Office Bar. That in itself sounds a little intimidating to go to the doctor's office. Boy, how many people up there that say, "Yeah, I got a doctor's appointment." Sure you do. You're going to the doctor's office, aren't you?
Well,
yeah.
There have been reports of when people are in the doctor's office, chairs will move, glasses will move by themselves. I believe there was even somebody who said that one of the pool balls on the table would move on its own without anybody being over there.
Wow.
So that's also a high activity location.
Right. Yeah, no, like I said, that symbol in the middle of the Grand Lodge sign is very interesting, and along with the artwork of how they incorporated, like we were talking earlier, how they incorporated that artwork in amongst all the structure of the building itself and the plumbing and the walls and so on, all has that very 1920s sinister cartoony type of architecture and design. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to put my finger on it. It's not Art Nouveau and it's not Art Deco, but it's that cartoon style of artwork that was done, and it even appears on that entrance sign. There's two spheres on that entrance sign, at least at the picture that I'm looking at, with the same globe with the big gold stars and really kind of interesting looking as to the type of style that is. So just that in itself is what I kind of meant earlier, that, you know, the symbol can be right there in front of your face, but yet you don't know what you're looking at. There's a really good example of, okay, so what are those 4 points on that symbol? Is that north, south, east, west? Is that, you know, each quadrant is representing a different aspect of the Masons, or who knows?
Well, and here's the question, too. Is McMenamins, are they Masons?
Good question. Really good question. Now, I don't know if the Masons would still have control enough in, you know, within these past few years, enough to have a yay or nay say in property purchasing and real estate, but no, that's a good question. And that name itself, McMenamins, that's just a fun name to say. It's a good thing that McMenamins did not get into the cinnamon business, because that would have been really tongue twist. McMenamin cinnamon. Yeah, right?
Right? Oh man. Let's see here. It looks like when you like, there's actually a Wikipedia on him. It says, let's see, he's a native to the state. He and his older brother founded the McMenamins restaurant and brew pub chain in 1983. He serves as general manager and vice president of the company, which operates more than 50 locations that include music venues such as the Crystal Ballroom, the Baghdad Theater, history buildings converted to brew pubs like the Roadhouse. That's the pictures that I sent you, in several hotels. I didn't know that the Baghdad Theater was part of it. It looks like he studied law. His father's an attorney, but there's nothing that says that any of the family was part of the Freemasons.
Well, here's your assignment, Jennifer. Go interview, because they're still around, right?
Right. Yes.
Get your interview.
Yeah.
Call them up. Say, hey, we've got a podcast. We want to do an interview with you about your Grand Lodge Hotel and Dining, and what associations do you have with the Freemasons. It might be interesting because he may share stories about the purchasing of that property and the haunts that may have happened in that process of converting it into what it is today.
Right. No, and and I'm sure he's got history on it too that the public doesn't know.
Right.
Because it would be really interesting to find out, well, why does the children's cottage, why does that have a rep for having such activity? Was there what tragedies? But then again, I don't know if he'd actually be willing to share those types of stories. I know that personally in our circle of people, when you know that kind of stuff, it makes it even more fascinating, and people tend to flock towards those things more. But I do know that for business, you can worry like, well, if a murder happened or, you know, some bad tragedy, maybe, you know, could that bring less customers?
Right. No, yeah, it would be kind of a negative publicity thing, but yeah, I get that. I do get that aspect. And, you know, it's all up to speculation, but things that you may not think about in speculation, that if it's an orphanage, you're talking about tormented children emotionally to begin with.
Yeah.
And then those, you know, children grow up and get elderly, pass away, and, you know, maybe they have a lot of harbored, you know, whatever the word is that I'm looking for against what transpired there. Who knows what the staff was like? Was it a loving staff, or was it, you know, brutal and mind your manners and slap you with a ruler across your knuckles to keep all the kids in line, you know? So that may have a lot to do with...
Right, and obviously it was so bad that the children were only able to be there for 1 year.
Right.
Like, they couldn't get along with the elderly people, like, you know, so it does sound like it was really tough. And, you know, the other interesting thing, too, that I would like to find out is when I was coming back from the motel, there was this little road that I hadn't noticed before, and I've gone to and from town that way, and it was just this beautiful green hill with a hardly noticeable drive, or like a gravel, or no, it was dirt. It was just like this little dirt road that led up to this big gate that said Hills Cemetery.
Ooh.
And it was open dusk till dawn, and this little road goes all the way up to the top of this hill, and it just disappears into this little bit of forest. Well, I thought to myself, oh man, I need to go back. I need to go back there and do this maybe for an episode, like, you know, take pictures.
Let's find the cemetery, right.
Right. Well, I decided to look it up online. And the majority, so it's a pioneer cemetery. It's a really old, like, first settlers type of cemetery. There actually is people, though, descendants who were actually, like, they were buried there within the last several years. So it's still in use. Not very much, but still in use. And so, but I was looking it up, and I thought to myself, you know, why, like, what were the causes of death, you know, so I'm looking it up. And there were several families where they got wiped out by pneumonia. And it was like it started as influenza, and then it went into pneumonia, or it was just pneumonia, or it was something else, and it was like one of them had measles and pneumonia or something.
Oh, man.
Anyways, whole families. And I'm just like, holy cow, you know, and of course there was a bunch of children burial plots, and it was just overwhelming. Like, for some reason, now I have been to old pioneer cemeteries. I mean, you and I have talked about the one that my sister and I went to, but for some reason, this one seemed different. This one seemed like everybody that was there was plagued by disease. And it just energetically felt like I needed to stay away from there. I mean, and it's not just, I mean, because when I was going to go there, my older kids were in school, so I had my youngest. And I'm just like, energetically, it feels really, really bad to take my 4-year-old with me to this, you know, it's just, and disrespectful, and I'm just like, there's no way. And so then later I'm like, well, does it feel any different with the thought of going alone? And for some reason, I really, in my gut, just feel like something would follow me home. And it might not even be a spirit that would necessarily follow me. I honestly think that you can end up getting the illness, sickness, disease, whatever. I feel like you can pick those up energetically, depending on how
Probably.
strong that is.
Right.
And so I was just like, yeah, there's just because, and that would be another interesting thing to try to look up and find out, is there anybody or any weird cases out there where somebody went somewhere where people died of, yellow fever, the plague, the whatever.
Right. Tuberculosis.
And they died from it themselves.
Yeah. Right.
Even though it was like 100 years ago.
Right.
So.
Yeah, be careful of where you tread. You might not want to hurry back up there. I can't say.
No,
Look,
I don't
if you
think
have
I'll
that
ever...
intuition, if you have that intuition, then pay attention to your intuition. Those are very good words of wisdom from Linda Godfrey. Was, step in as far until you tell yourself, okay, that's enough, and listen to your intuition, and then turn around and head the other way, because you could get yourself into some trouble that you don't understand, and if you don't understand it, then you're going to be quite the victim. So pay attention to that intuition that you have. You probably stay away from there. But the rest of the place, I would be willing to watch. Look, there's been so many souls that have walked through there with, and I'm sure there's people there right now as we're doing this podcast, staying at the Grand Lodge, and there'll be people that pass through there quite a bit. So whatever filtration of haunts or spirits that may be there are very used to that, and so that I think I would be intrigued to go see. And like you said, you were listening to footsteps, and like, wow, interesting. Very interesting.
And it's interesting because, here I went there, and then I had that experience that I did on the phone with you. And a lot of people, they bring up the fact, well, could it have been because you went to McMiniman? Because it's a known haunted location. And I honestly, I've never brought anything home from there. Like, when I ended up moving when I was 18, and I was kind of going from place to place, just staying with friends at the time, I would go there and just read a book. I would just, that was my getaway, my safe place, my, And I always felt at home there, and I've never brought anything home. But I wonder, and I think, and I don't believe that this is a far out there idea, because in Ryan's book, he made mention about how sometimes the people that experience a UFO sighting feel a psychic connection between themselves and this thing that is how far away in the sky?
Right.
How far away? And yet they feel like there's this psychic connection. So maybe now that we're talking about this and I'm thinking about it, and of course, playing with the what if the thing that I experienced in my house came from passing by that cemetery and considering, like, I was going to go there the next day. Like, this was a plan up until about 5 hours before I was going to go.
Right.
So
what you're kind of saying is, because you gave it a mental thought about doing it, it may have seen you as an opportunity because you gave it a mental thought.
I'm wondering about the possibility of, if you drive past a location, let's say it's haunted. I mean, because we don't know. I don't know anything about the cemetery other than what I read. But let's play with the idea that it's haunted. So let's say it's haunted and you drive past it, you mentally stamp that picture of the road, and you go, okay, boom, I'm going to go there, I'm fascinated by it. And then you start doing research that takes you a while, and you're reading into it, and you're looking into the families, and you're establishing that energetic connection to this place that you physically drove by. And you're like, all right, I'm going there. This is a thing. So then you've also already mentally put yourself in that location. So does that create a bridge?
It's a good possibility. I mean, just from just because it's a formidable question makes it a possibility, right?
Oh, right.
Because it's not that far and outlandish because you asked the question, therefore, and it's just a philosophy that I carry with me, that if you're asking the question, then there is a good possibility that may actually be something substantive enough that it could happen. And look, there's so much that we don't understand in this whole paranormal universe. And until we do understand it, it'll remain a paranormal universe. Once we start to understand it scientifically, or, through however avenue we take to get to those answers, then it doesn't become paranormal, it becomes normal. So, just because you asked that question, I think, that would be a really good possibility. It's kind of how I was initially trying to answer that question with you, just because you opened your mind up and recognized that cemetery and gave consideration to it to go visit. Was there that connection right then and there? Like you used the term bridge. Is that the bridge that just got created? So I think we're probably both thinking on the same vein there of the what ifs, and maybe something did come back with you. And I don't know if you want for the listeners just to give a brief description of what you are talking about, the events that happened in your home or not, or if you want to save that for later, that's okay too. But it was a couple of interesting events that took place that evening, and here I am on the phone with you, and I'm like, there's nothing I can do to help.
Right. No. I will, I guess, let the listeners know. It's funny because over on Into the Fray, the Insiders have that once a month, at the end of the month, all-in episode.
Yes.
And so we had already talked about it over there, and so I forget that, my listeners haven't heard about this yet.
Oh,
no, so we were on the phone, and I was in my daughter's room.
Meaning the two of us were on the phone as we are right now, talking with each other, yes.
Right. And so I'm sitting in there, and I'm kind of I'm like folding clothes. Now, my youngest daughter and the cat are on my bed. They're both asleep. My older two are laying on the couch. Now, they're laying on their stomach with the laptop kind of like on the arm of the couch, and they have a blanket over them. And then the coffee table's pushed up towards the couch, so that way they can have like a water and their popcorn there. And so I'm in their room, and I'm folding clothes, and I have the door shut, and it sticks because I have a metal rack over the door to hold their backpacks and everything. Well, the door flies open, and it stunned me because with the force of the way that the door came open, it was like one of the kids were mad at me, or they had gotten in a fight with each other, so they slammed the door open, and I'm expecting, Mommy, she did this, And it feels like somebody is standing there. But the thing is, when that door slams open, nobody is standing there. And I don't hear anybody run away, nothing. And so you and I are sitting on the phone, and I can't remember. I think I went silent for a little while, and then just
I heard you gasp. You did gasp, and you went, and then I said, whoa, what's the matter? And then you were silent there for a couple of minutes, so then I gave you your couple of moments of silence.
Right. Yeah, and then I had told you that the door flew open. So then I was like, hold on, and I got up, and the older two were still laying there on the couch. And it would have been, like, the way that they were laying on the couch, I would have heard them get back on there. I could, you would be able to see that they weren't as comfortable as they were before I went in there. I, checked on in my room. They're still sleeping in there. And so I'm just like weirded out, just genuinely weirded out, and trying to think to myself, you know what, I'm just going to ignore this, because a month prior, my cupboard had flown open, and then I have a Native American rattle that sits on my wall. Well, that flew off my wall. So when that happened, though, I chose to ignore it, and nothing else happened. But when those things happened, I didn't feel this, like, just want to call it evil thing staring at me or presence, you know. It just felt horrible. And so I just felt like I couldn't ignore it, but I was, like, trying my best to. And then I walked out of the room because they had some dishes in their room, so I took them into the kitchen. And I took them into the kitchen, and then I threw some clothes into the laundry closet, I guess it's called. And I shut the door, and as I walked past it, this door flies open and dang near hits me. And so, of course, you know, I yelp or whatever, and I run away. And I'm running back into the original, into their room, because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, now it's out. Rationally, I was thinking it is outside of the bedroom, because it was outside of the bedroom to push the door open and then to have the other door fly open, and then I don't want my kids to see me, so I'm just going to, you know, go back into their room, and I didn't want to go into my room because I didn't want to wake up my youngest. So I go back in there, and by this point, I'm just shook up, because I've seen physically two things happen by this point, and it just feels, you know, evil. And so, you know, so then you're talking to me, and you're telling me, you know, you're reminding me about the stage and demanding it to leave and all this stuff, and I'm just sitting there feeling like, you know, I know that I need to do this, but part of me doesn't want to do it, because I felt like it was strong, and that if I did it, it would just challenge me, or it would ramp up the activity. But I went ahead, and I had put you on hold, and I got my sage, and I went through the house. Well, when I had entered back into their room, and it was before I lit the sage, I literally felt like something was behind me, and I heard a growl. I mean, it was just, the hair on the back of my neck totally just stood up, and I didn't say it out loud to you. I texted you. I heard a growl because I was too afraid to say it out loud. And so then I walk out of their room, because I'm like, it's behind me, I need to leave the room. And as I leave the room, out of the corner of my eye, it's kind of like in the corner of my eye and in your mind's eye type of a scenario.
Right.
Standing in the hallway is this cloaked figure that was taller than me, but not like super tall, like it didn't go up to the ceiling. I would say it had to be about like 6'5", 6'7", or something like that. So I mean,
that's
it's
pretty
considerably
tall.
tall. And I'm only 5 foot, so it's around there, and it's all black from the neck down with this like black robe looking thing, but the head is like a deer skull or horse, but I want to say deer.
Right.
It just, and I swear it's like it was laughing at me. And so but you know, I went through the house, and I just tried to do what I could with the sage, and I've got this like other spray that I sprayed, you know, and I did my prayers, I did my demands, I did, you know, all this stuff, and for the rest of the night it's fine. Everything seemed to be okay. But then the next morning I go and I'm cleaning up the floor. So I'm vacuuming in the living room, and I was going to scoop up all the ash and clean up my fireplace, because I had, you know, the fire 10 days prior to this. Lit a fire in my fireplace. Well, there's embers in my freaking fireplace. And and immediately everything comes rushing back. I'm like, there's no way. And it just felt like it was connected to this. And then literally not even 24 hours later, all of us are sick. Like flu, cold type sick.
Right.
And we're just now getting better. And there hasn't been anything happen. There's been no noise, no moving of things, no embers in the fireplace, nothing.
Right.
So I don't know.
that whole experience just, because I felt it, and here I am on the other end of the phone, and I felt it. I felt that you were upset. And I think I felt more of you being upset than you were scared. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why you didn't have much more activity after that, because I really firmly believe that a lot of these things feed off the fear. As crazy as that sounds to so many people, it does seem, even for centuries and centuries of time and storytelling and documenting these type of entities, that they all have that common thread of they feed off of fear. And that's why they do what they do, is to get you scared enough that they can actually take that negative energy of fear and absorb it for themselves. And you were more upset by it, but trying to handle the situation because you have daughters in your home and you're trying to be rational as possible about this, but still you're upset because these things are happening and this isn't right and it needs to go. And then it kind of turned into a little bit of anger, but I think there was still more being upset than there was anger. It's just, I really want this to go away because I feel negative right now. And then for you to have that third eye image in your head of what it is that you saw. And I do understand, and I think a lot of our listeners will probably understand too, what you speak of out of the corner of your eye, but it's mostly too in your mind's eye.
Your mind's eye, yeah.
That image could be kind of focused because of the fear factor that you're experiencing at the time. But to have it detailed as a cloaked figure with a deer skull type of head, and that it's laughing at you, you're manifesting something that is very specific. And,
the crazy
go back.
Thing is, right afterwards, the only way that I could describe it to you was all I could say in the moment, because I didn't want to say what I saw. I didn't want to describe it and everything. So all I could get out was Sam's drawings. And that's Sam Sheeran, by the way, to our listeners. And so it was, and I haven't even, part of me has wanted to look through his stuff just to see if I can, if there's something that's close to what I saw, but then I've been too afraid.
Yeah, well, I can't say I blame you.
I haven't done it.
You might not want to rebuild that bridge again either.
Yes, exactly.
I can't say I blame you.
Yeah, well, and then, the other thing, too, when I was talking to MJ during that interview, he also brought up the fact that what you were just saying about the fear. And I was telling him about a TV show that we had watched around Halloween. Still one of my favorites. I thought it was really well done. I cannot remember for the life of me the name of it, but the repeated sentence in the movie was just don't think about it, because it was about this book. And I loved the way that it read, because it was something like, it comes from underneath your bed, and you hear the sound, and you feel the cold, and, just all these different, beautifully descripted, so you're feeling it. And as it's describing it to you, this image is coming into your head. And then as it gets to the peak where it's super scary, it's like, but don't worry, it's not real unless you think about it.
Right.
You just don't think about it. And it's just, and so the older sister read this to her little brother because, of course, what does she like to do? She likes to scare him. And so when she closes the book, it's kind of this like smirky, like, ha ha, just don't think about it. And then she goes off and she goes to bed. And he's sitting there and he's holding his blanket, and he's looking around his room. And you know he's thinking about it. Like, how can you not? Oh my God. And it builds. And so this thing just ends up, I can't remember if there was like this flash under his bed, or like you see eyes all of a sudden come out of the darkness, like it's formed within the darkness. And then it just becomes more, I think it became real, and then it might have gotten bigger. It might have actually grown in size the more he thought about it.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's all part of the, in the vein of tulpa. Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if there's enough energy thought about something, it could manifest into something, and that's terrifying.
Right.
But thank you again for sharing that story, because is there that possibility that negative whatever came from that cemetery just because you had that thought process? And now what do you do when you pass the cemetery? It's like, I want no part of you, cemetery. No, thank you. You stay there and I'll go this way. Right.
Exactly. Well, and, in the beginning, I wasn't going to share it because when I posted it to the group, I was just like, look, everybody, this is a personal experience. I'm not trying to do anything for the show. I don't care about that. I just want help because this is like, because I haven't had anything happen like this since I've had, literally, since I've become a mom, I was able to really kind of shut the door. I mean, I still had stuff happen, but not like I did before I was a mom. And honestly, I just keep having this feeling, too, that it's going, as they get older and when they move out of the house, I feel like everything's going to ramp back up again. And it's just upsetting. So anyways, I just didn't think that I was going to share it, especially because I didn't want to reopen that door, but so I wasn't originally going to share it, but then I thought, well, okay, it's been long enough, so I think that it's safe and fine. And then I did talk about it a little bit with, everybody over at ITF, and that's the other thing too, is you go through this weird stage of, oh my gosh, this just happened to me. I don't want to share it because I'm too afraid. And then you kind of share it, and then you're like, well, it's just too crazy. People aren't going to believe me, or they're going to think that I'm lying. And you talk about it a little bit more, and then all of a sudden, by the third time that you've talked about it, it's like, okay, this is actually kind of therapeutic, and it's helping me get over it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But how supportive were the insiders when you did share that story?
Oh my God, I know.
Yeah, you had a lot of feedback of what it may be and how to deal with it. And no, you're not crazy. And then they shared their equal experience, not in a long drawn out story to make it about themselves, but to say, you're not in this alone, Jennifer. We're all in this together, and you can defeat this thing. And it was very therapeutic. I felt better, and it didn't even happen to me, and I felt better afterwards.
See, and I mean, so yes, I'll just say this. I love the Caravan. I love our lore folks. I love our group. It's absolutely fantastic, and I would love to build our group and everything, but the group stems from those over there at ITF, and I cannot put into the fray on a high enough pedestal, and every single person, whether they're just people that listen in general or whether they are actually insiders, these people have really become family to me, and especially the insiders. I have to sit here and tell everybody that's listening to become an insider. If this is what you're into, and if you're looking for a support group, if you're looking for people that really, really understand and get it, that is where it is. Seriously, right there, that is where it is.
And, another thing about insiders, as well as the Caravan, because we kind of put that wall up with the Caravan to make sure that the same effect happens with the Caravan as does with ITF, and it's because Shannon LeGros put up the same wall too. And so with the group of people that comes in, there is no political infighting with everybody. Everybody is all on the same page, supporting each other in the most unique way. And the same thing happens with the Caravan too. Nobody is judging anybody and saying, "Wow, that person's a real whack job," and we need to get them out. And then that's silly of what you said. Nothing like that could have ever happened. That's ridiculous. No, none of that happens with the insiders over at Into the Fray or at the Caravan here. And there are a few other podcasts that are, putting up that same wall to make sure those boundaries are met and those regulations of there is no infighting in the community. And wow, it is make it a family.
It's fascinating to me because, I've been a part of other Facebook groups, and there are other podcasts that I've kind of checked out, and I've kind of looked at, some of the
trigger,
the different. No, this is before. This is before Into the Fray ever started. So we're talking a year or two ago. So, but the animosity between people, the anger, the judgment was absolutely incredible. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. And I would pose a question or a thought, and it was so vehemently attacked. And when Into the Fray came out and the group was forming and everything, even as everybody was first coming together, there was just nothing.
Right.
There's never been. I've never seen an argument. I've never seen, anything that's, you know what I mean? And so, and even when Shannon had her her first call-in show, when everybody just called in and there was no limit. Do you remember that?
Yes.
There's 20 people on the line. The fact that everybody, we all realized that. Everybody took their turn. Everyone was respectful. Nobody talked over anybody. It was fascinating to me. I'm just like, wow, there has to be something with Shannon herself.
Oh my God. And on that note, wow.
Oh my
God. That scared the daylights out of me, man. I just peed a little.
Yawning.
Oh, man.
That was funny.
That's in the outtake file, please.
I might have to leave that in. Oh, that was funny. No, I think that Shannon puts out an energy, and Into the Fray puts out an energy that's so calm and just so accepting that it's a magnet. What she sends out, she's bringing back. And
I agree with that too. And there has, I think I can only account for 2 times where there was kind of a negative statement made, and instead of getting angry at it, we all just kind of circled the wagons around and said, okay, now that is the funniest thing I ever heard, and we all supported each other against one person that said something silly, and of course we haven't heard from that person.
And we wore it like a badge.
Right,
we did.
Exactly. Ass peeps.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that is our badge of honor. So
it is. We wear the ass peeps. Yes, we are. So yeah,
I love it.
But it's the same thing with the Caravan too. What you put out, you will get in return. So thank you, listeners, for being as fantastic as you are, and being that you are who you are. Tell your friends, because we're all certain that your friends are probably just as good of people as the listeners are. So bring your friends in too.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, that would be awesome to grow our group and to get to know more people. And the Caravan group is seriously there. The Caravan group is there for you. And the interaction and the support and the fun.
Right. No, I agree. Well, yeah, thanks to all the listeners that have listened thus far to, and thank you for sharing all this about McMenamins. You know, that's such a fascinating place, and I would love to go there sometime. I'm probably going to end up writing that on a bucket list of things to do.
Oh, man. Well, I tell you what, you know, there is a McMenamins, they have a UFO festival, and they do have speakers that come, and so I have suggested to Ryan that he should definitely come up here. Yes.
Yes, Ryan
Sprague. Come up here and do that, and I mean, it'd be awesome to get a bunch of people out here, and then we could all stay at the McMenamins. We could do the UFO Fest, and also McMenamins has also been posting on their Facebook page. They have a paranormal pub, so it's like I don't know if it's once a month on Sundays or if it's every other week. I think it's once a month though. You can go to this paranormal pub, and the topics are different. It's literally like an in-person podcast thing.
Okay.
It's really cool. And so I want to check that out.
Well, we'll look forward to that. Very much so. Thanks, everybody.
I can't thank you enough for coming back on and reunioning with me.
Reunioning. I'm always here, people. People, I'm always here. You know that I partake in the Caravan of Lore and the Library of Lore also on the Facebook interactive group page. Yes, because this was the brainchild, and I love to see the direction in which it's going. So thank you, Jennifer, for taking it in such a cool direction that it fills the cockles of my heart to know that the Caravan is in such good hands while I'm away doing my silliness and the news over at The Existence of Strange Things. So thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
We'll have to make sure and put all the links on our show page and everything to where they can adventure with you. So
hey, fantastic. And likewise. Yeah. Of course, we do that every week anyway, but yes, very good.
You do, and I can't thank you enough.
All right, we're out. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.